And now it's time for the reading of the Canton Repository for Wednesday, September 30th, 2020. My name is Pam, and let's begin with the area deaths. Edmund Aquino, known as Eddie, age 81, of Magnolia, passed away Monday, September 28th. A private Mass of Christian burial for the family will be held Saturday at 10 a.m. in St. James Catholic Church. Friends may call Friday, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Fine Frock Gordon Funeral Home in Magnolia. Social distancing and facial covering will be observed. Thomas E. Breckenridge, age 67, of Canton, passed away Sunday. A memorial service will be held Saturday at 11 a.m. in the Summit Church, North Canton. The family will receive friends immediately following the service. Social distancing and facial covering should be observed. Mary Jane Steese Van Horn Kane, age 91, passed away Saturday. Per Mary's wishes, there will be no calling hours, and a private service for the family will take place at Forest Hill Cemetery, where she will be laid to rest. Wesley E. Curran, 84, from Plain Township, passed away September 27th at 10:44 a.m., surrounded by his loving family. Calling hours will be held Friday from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Grace Baptist Church in Canton, where services will be held at 12:30 p.m. John A. Carosielli, a Mass of Christian burial will be celebrated on Thursday, 10 a.m. at the Basilica of St. John the Baptist. A private interment will be at a later date. Carol L. Diebel, age 73, of Dalton, went home to be with the Lord on September 28th. A celebration of her life will be held at the Paquillet Funeral Home in Massillon on Friday at 11 a.m. The family will receive friends at the funeral home on Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. and 1 hour prior to the service. Social distancing observed and face masks are required. Ann R. Erb, 96, of New Philadelphia, passed away Monday in Altman Hospital at Canton. The family will greet guests on Saturday from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. in the Lynn Hurt Gabe Funeral Home and Crematory at New Philadelphia. A Mass of the Christian burial will be Saturday at 10 a.m. in Sacred Heart Catholic Church at New Philadelphia. Jean K. Eversole, age 79, of Canton, passed away Sunday in Altman Hospital. Friends and family will be received Wednesday in the Kriegbaum Sanders Funeral Home from 5 to 8 p.m., where face covering and social distancing will be required. A private family service will be Thursday with burial in Melsheimer Cemetery. Robert E. Fox, known as Haas, 62, of Strasburg, passed away suddenly at his home on Tuesday. Cremation has been entrusted to the Tollin Herzig Funeral Home and Crematory at Strasburg. There are no public services or calling hours. George W. Hefner Jr., age 62, of Canton, passed away September 28th. Calling hours will be Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Arnold and Spiker Foster Shriver Funeral Home. Funeral services will be Friday at 10 a.m. Beverly A. Henthorne, age 72, of Massillon, passed away in her residence surrounded by her children on September 26th. Please contact the family for information regarding a celebration of life reception. Arrangements entrusted to the Mark R. Vrabel Funeral Home in North Canton. John Louis Luby, or John Lewis Luby, April 1st, 1928 to September 26th, 2020. No services. Heritage Cremation Society. Brian J. Sills, age 59, of Canton, passed away suddenly as a result of an injury on September 25th. A memorial service will take place at 9 a.m. on Friday at the Louisville Church of Christ, Louisville, with calling hours to follow from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. to honor the life of Brian. After calling hours, there will be a burial at Evergreen Memorial Gardens. DeJean Milton Tucker, 20, of Canton, passed away September 23rd. Funeral services will be held Thursday in the Trinity Gospel Temple in Canton at 12 p.m. with viewing 2 hours prior to services. Very sad. And now that completes our area deaths, and let's go on to our first article. Mattress catches fire at Canton apartment complex by Ed Balint. A man was taken to a hospital after a mattress caught fire at Girard Gardens apartment on Wednesday morning. Firefighters were called at 9:30 a.m. to the Stark Metropolitan Housing Authority apartment complex at 2215 Tuscarora Street East. When firefighters arrived, occupants of the six-story building were being evacuated, said Battalion Chief Steve Henderson. An estimated 100 to 125 people made it outside the complex. An alarm led firefighters to a second-floor apartment where a mattress was on fire in a bedroom, Henderson said. Firefighters found a victim in a bathroom inside the apartment, he said. The man's injuries were being evaluated. His condition was not available. The mattress fire was quickly extinguished and didn't spread to walls or the rest of the apartment, Henderson said. The second and third floors were ventilated and cleared of smoke, and all floors were checked. Apartment residents were allowed to return to their units. Firefighters had trouble clearing the alarm, Henderson said, noting the alarm company was called to address the problem. Firefighters left the scene at 10:37 a.m. The Massillon Police aim to reestablish a canine unit by Stephen Grazier. The police department is working to beef up its canine unit and wants to add 2 dogs to its force in the coming months. Police Chief Keith Moser is asking City Council to approve $150,000 transfer within the department, in which some officer salary funds would be moved to the canine unit account, allowing him to bring on a pair of new police dogs. The money is part of the agency's 2020 budget. The city has not had an active police canine unit since last May, when longtime Officer Inca and his handler, Officer Miguel Riccio, last worked together. Inca, with the city for 11 years, died unexpectedly due to a health ailment. There is no timeline to bring new canines to the department, said Moser, adding that the initial goal is to secure the funding. Finding the right dogs can sometimes be an issue, as well as getting them here, the chief said Tuesday. But we're waiting for the transfer before moving ahead with specifics. About $100,000 will be used to purchase 2 dogs, a dedicated canine sport utility vehicle, or an SUV, dog leashes, and food. The sum would also account for the training of canines and handlers, in addition to veterinarian services. There's going to be more heavy lifting up front financially, Moser said about reestablishing the canine force. The continuation will be more minimal going forward. City Council could approve the monetary transfer as soon as Monday, when the legislation is up for first reading consideration. Money available. The police department has not replaced 2 department officers who left voluntarily earlier this year. Not hiring new officers is partly due to the COVID-19 pandemic and a standstill in certification protocols. Therefore, some salary funding is available and can be utilized to help ramp up the canine unit, Moser said. According to the chief, 1 canine unit would be assigned to the department's afternoon shift and the other to midnight shift. 2 existing officers are to be reassigned as handlers. Canines assigned to police departments frequently assist in foot pursuits, drug busts, and cadaver searches. Since Inca's death in May, Massillon police have been assisted by canine units from Canton and the Stark County Sheriff's Office as needed, Moser said. Riot control gear. About 1/3 or 50,000 of the 150,000 transfer request is targeted to purchase riot control gear for Massillon officers. The equipment would be necessary if officers had to break up an unruly protest or march in the city. Moser said the money, if approved by City Council, will be used to buy helmets, shields, gas masks, wooden batons, and laser protective eye gear for officers. The chief is hopeful officers will not have to put the equipment to use. It's better to have all of that and not need it, rather than need it and not have it, Moser said. And now, Massillon holiday events halted amid pandemic by Amy Knapp. Santa Claus won't be rolling into downtown or taking up residence in his cottage this Christmas season. Officials confirmed Monday the city's annual holiday parade will likely not take place this year due to the ongoing pandemic and Governor Mike DeWine's orders banning parades and large gatherings. Mayor Kathy Catanzaro Perry said organizers have been in ongoing talks about the annual event that features local dance troupes, scouts, marching bands, and of course, Old St. Nick, which ushers in the start of the holiday season. It's such a wonderful time of the year for all of us, she said, but it's just not going to happen this year. It makes me sad. The kids absolutely love the parade, and I think about the seniors in the band and kids and adults that love it. It's sad, but it's what we have to do. Drastic changes would have to take place in order to have the parade, but the mayor doesn't see that happening. We delayed canceling the parade, hoping that our numbers would improve, but that isn't happening, Catanzaro Perry said. Right now, we, Stark County, are red, and with the flu season coming, who knows what will happen. We have to chalk it up to making the best out of this year with the pandemic. And the governor would have to lift his ban, she added. Downtown Massillon Association President Barb Schumacher said the pandemic also has forced the Merchants Association to forego the annual Light Up Night celebration and to cancel Santa's Cottage. The DMA also sponsored the lights in Duncan Plaza. Due to the construction, the lights will not be installed in the plaza, but some of the lights will be on display throughout the town, she said. Sponsored displays can be seen on the lawns of the Massillon Public Library, Massillon Museum, and Farmers National Bank. Some of the lights will also be placed in the new medians along Lincoln Way. The wreaths that adorn the downtown light poles will be hung, Schumacher said. The DMA is selling $100 sponsorships for the wreaths. The sponsors' names will appear on the pole, she said. The mayor hopes to have a virtual lighting of the city Christmas tree, which stands in the lawn of the Massillon Museum at Lincoln Way and First Street Southeast. I keep saying it's going to be bigger and better next year, Catanzaro Perry said. Duncan Plaza will be done by then, and we put a Christmas tree in the plans so we don't have to cut down a tree every year. Organizers of the city's annual Candlelight Walk also announced this year's installment of the event would not go on. Margie Vogt, event chair, said the decision was hard but necessary. A tradition since 2001, churches across the city open their doors to showcase their house of worship, as well as choirs and other musical ensembles, and the church's architecture and history. Although it's a disappointment, the risks are too great, Vogt said. With the mandates to social distance, churches can't accommodate all guests, she said. Some venues are not open to the public, and singing is not advisable. We also don't want to encourage group gatherings, Vogt said. We just don't see how it can work. Vogt said there was minimal discussion about using another form, such as a virtual event, but the committee felt it would take away from the magical formula that makes the annual event so successful. Rather than present a mediocre event, we'd rather lead up to a really good 2021 event, she said. Moving on. The Coroner's Staff Works on Deceased in Tight Quarters by Robert Wang. The only way to get to the offices of Stark County Coroner Anthony Burton and his assistants is to walk past the refrigeration and freezer unit in the morgue where up to a dozen bodies are kept. If a pathologist is examining a body or performing an autopsy in the cramped space in the morgue, they'll often draw the curtain so visitors walking by are spared the unpleasant sight. Any of the public that comes out here, attorneys, so on and so forth, they have to walk through here while we're doing stuff, said Burton, referring to the morgue and room where bodies are examined. We've got to interrupt our work and then keep them outside for a while and then show them in here. The problem is the number of bodies in the custody of the coroner's office exceeds 12, Burton said. He has weekends during the year when the numbers can reach 25, or even on rare occasions creep up to nearly 30. Years ago, during the height of the opioid overdose epidemic, the coroner's office had to commission a trailer to store additional bodies. If the morgue has 10 bodies, the staff then begins to call local hospitals and area funeral homes asking if they can store any of them. The usual rate the coroner's office pays the funeral homes are $75 a day, plus the cost of $100 to $250 each way to transport the body to the funeral home. If the coroner's office has finished examining or autopsying one of the recently departed, it often asks the funeral home designated by the family to pick up the body as soon as possible so a space can be opened up for the next coroner's case. Last Wednesday, when Burton showed a reporter his facility, the morgue had 6 bodies in storage. The coroner's office has averaged about 500 to 600 cases a year the past few years. A body could be in its custody for a few hours or even a few months. Lois Miller, one of Burton's 4 administrative assistants, said the office is increasingly getting decreased indigent people who have no family to claim them. Thus, their remains are held for longer periods of time. "We need more space," said Sarah Kelly, an administrative assistant. "The public shouldn't have to walk through the morgue to get to the office. An emergency exit would be nice, too." Plan to move. Last week, the firm Sol Harris Day Architecture presented a plan to the Stark County Commissioners to move the coroner's office from its 2,000 square foot space at the Stark County Jail to a newly renovated 4,500 square foot space at the Lester Higgins Adult Center at 3041 Cleveland Avenue Southwest in Canton Township. The Stark County Board of Developmental Disabilities, which had long used the building as a workshop for adults with disabilities, is downsizing its operations in the facility, so the space is available. Dominic Ferranti, a top architect with Sol Harris Day, told the commissioners that the current space at the county jail can't be expanded more than 500 feet due to a retaining wall, and he questioned whether the benefit would be worth the cost, especially because it would be difficult for staff to do their work during an expansion. Burton said Lester Higgins would have sufficient space for the morgue to store 25 bodies, substantially more space to store evidence, samples, and specimens, and for coroner staff to meet with family members of the deceased in a consulting room where they wouldn't have to walk through the morgue. The new space would have 2 bathrooms instead of the current 1. That's an ideal site down there, really, because as far as availability of space, easy access into the building. You have a separate entrance for the public, separate from where the work is being done, Burton said. The renovation construction cost would be about $700,000. The coroner's office could make the move as early as next summer. The commissioners are on board. Commissioners say it's well worth the money. The county already owns Lester Higgins, which was once a Kroger supermarket. Providing the coroner a bigger facility wouldn't incur the much higher cost of constructing a new building or renting space. "I think we really desperately need a larger area for the coroner. When you look at the current layout, it's poorly laid out," Commissioner Bill Smith said. "I think the coroner's office deserves more space and to be properly laid out so if someone has to go see him, they're not walking through the work areas. Unfortunately, you could get a big weekend and we don't have enough storage." And Lester Higgins is in a central location. You've got Route 30. You've got Interstate 77, so it makes it very accessible to the entire county, said Smith, a former Canton Township trustee, adding that the location is in a quiet area outside the view of any residents. It's in behind the building. People won't even know where it's at. Commissioner Richard Regula called a move a good investment for Stark County. He said it's important for visitors to the coroner's office not to be subjected to the sight of bodies being worked on. "I still remember walking in and they're doing autopsies and you could see bodies and things like that," he said. "We just want to make it more friendly for the family members. They just didn't have enough space out at the sheriff's office." The morgue has 2 refrigeration units and a freezer unit that can each hold 4 bodies in a compact space on racks. To remove a body from an upper rack, a coroner staffer often has to use a mechanical lift that Burton says can be difficult to operate, especially if the deceased weighs 300 to 400 pounds. The steep grade of the ramp into the coroner's office makes transporting bodies even more of a challenge. Burton said the larger space at Lester Higgins would allow the construction of a refrigerated room where bodies could be placed on carts, making them safer and easier to move. In addition, doubling the capacity of the morgue would help should there be a mass casualty event, such as you have a plane go down or you've got an apartment building that burns, the coroner said. Burton said he believes having a larger space would help him to recruit a new forensic pathologist to perform autopsies. It's not clear if the cramped quarters played a role in why the coroner's two past pathologists quit. Burton's last forensic pathologist, Daniel Brown, started December 9th and resigned September 9th to work on a per diem basis, which Burton said is more lucrative. Prior to that, forensic pathologist Renee Robinson stepped down on February 28, 2019. The county no longer has a pathologist to perform autopsies. The Cuyahoga County Medical Officers is performing Stark County autopsies. Burton, a Democrat, has been coroner since 2017. He's seeking a new 4-year term in the November 3rd election, and he's opposed by Republican Ronald Rusnak. And let's move on. Downtown Canton's new Little Flower Baking Company rises to quick success by Dan Kane. It was only the second day of business, and the phone was ringing off the hook with orders at Little Flower Baking Company, located on an alley in downtown Canton. The first day had been a sellout. I know it's a little hole in the wall, but I love it, owner baker Heather Ramey said Thursday morning, between taking phone orders and delivering them curbside. It's been the biggest whirlwind from deciding to do this 2 months ago to now. Ramey, 29, who also is a server at Bender's Tavern, is operating Little Flower out of the former Refuge of Hope Kitchen in the 405 Wellness Building at 405 3rd Street Northeast. The bakery's door, which faces Rex Avenue, is hard to miss with its colorful painting by local artist Steve Arrett of a friendly monster holding a cupcake. The bakery's daily menu is listed on Little Flower's Facebook page, and Ramey takes orders via Facebook Messenger and phone at 330-312-0558. Customers can pick up their orders curbside. Ramey scans their credit and debit card using Square. Asked about opening a business during COVID-19, she said, "Honestly, the curbside pickup at Bender's was booming, and I was pretty encouraged by that." Little Flower is Ramey's first commercial baking venture, but she's no newcomer to baking and all things cooking. "I remember being 9 years old and watching Iron Chef and being obsessed with all things Food Network," said Ramey, a Canton resident who hails from Tippecanoe in Harrison County. The building that houses the bakery is owned by Ryan Miller, who also owns the nearby restaurant, Deli, Ohio. Ramey's husband, Patrick, is a good friend with Miller, which is what led her to the available kitchen downtown. The bakery came together quickly, with Ramey obtaining necessary permits and purchasing baking equipment, a pastry rack, and the bright pink boxes in which her pastries are sold. "This idea that I have this door into my kitchen I can do curbside was such a genius move," Miller said. "It's super hard to run a business during COVID, and to open one is very forward. I think Heather had a vision for doing something new that was exactly the right time for it. Having another business on this block has been huge." Last Thursday, Little Flower menu included cheesecake, s'mores, and pumpkin caramel, Danish of cheese, apple, walnut, cherry, and mixed berry, muffins, chocolate chunk and pumpkin spice, scones, lemon, blueberry, and orange spice, iced wild berry eclairs, chocolate cake bites, and chocolate-covered strawberries. Prices run from $1 to $4. "I love cheesecake. I love carbs," Ramey confessed, laughing. "I'm obsessed with that whole bakery situation, the movie The Grand Budapest Hotel, and the whimsy of it. That's why I did these crazy-colored eclairs. I try to be creative." Ramey has specific flavor goals. "I don't want my baked goods to taste artificial, processed, or too sweet," she said. When I make buttercream, I don't want it to taste like shortening and powdered sugar. I'm excited to be able to have a Danish downtown, Miller said. She makes her own puff pastry, and you can tell. Little Flour Baking Company hours are Tuesday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and they are closed on Sunday and Monday. Well, there are goodies galore at the Sugar Bowl in downtown Massillon by Dan Kane. The food, a menu of diner-style comfort classics, definitely is worth a visit. It feels like a patio in the hipper neighborhoods of Pittsburgh or Columbus. So charming is the open-air dining area behind the Sugar Bowl in downtown Massillon. With lingering reluctance by many people to sit indoors at restaurants, this alleyway, equipped with 6 red umbrella tables, an array of decorative signs, and string lights overhead, feels like a safe and secret hideaway. And the food, a menu of diner-style comfort classics, definitely is worth the visit. Nearby, between neighboring businesses, the Sangria stand and Smiley's Restaurante and Pizza, sits another stylish alleyway with seating for alfresco enjoyment. There's also sidewalk tables out front offering a view of downtown traffic. Back to the Sugar Bowl at 47 Lincoln Way East, which is a bona fide Massillon landmark, having originally operated from 1902 to 1989 at this same location for closing for almost 30 years. The cook, Dale Eves, filled me in on the place's history. After an extensive remodeling by new owner Bill Weaver, the Sugar Bowl had a grand reopening in December 2018, only to be closed twice, first by the Downtown Massillon Streetscape Project and then COVID-19. On July 6th, the Sugar Bowl reopened, hopefully for the long second life it deserves. A friend and I enjoyed a late lunch at the Sugar Bowl last Friday, catching up between bites and really enjoying being outside. Our server Jessica was much on the ball throughout our leisurely visit. After studying the menu, I knew I had to order the signature Sugar Bowl grilled cheese cheeseburger, which was $8.95. An 8-ounce hand-formed burger topped with lettuce, tomato, and onion, and served between 2 grilled cheese sandwiches instead of a bun. It was less decadent or more messy than it might sound, with plenty of great flavor. And the accompanying fresh-cut fries were abundant and fresh from the fryer. Also available is a grilled cheese sloppy joes, which Jessica says is one of her faves. The chicken salad sandwich with fries for $7.95 was pleasant if ordinary, just chunks of chicken, mayo, and celery, and served with lettuce on Texas toast. My friend said it reminds her of lunch counters at department stores from childhood. For variety, I ordered onion rings instead of fries, a $1.95 upcharge, and they were perfection. Freshly hand battered and both fluffy and crispy. The excellent entree-sized spinach salad for $7.45 was a bowl of fresh spinach leaves topped with sliced strawberries and red onions, crumbled feta cheese, and loads of crumbled bacon, served with hot bacon dressing. For $2 additional, chicken can be added. The Sugar Bowl menu is sizable. Other sandwiches include the Elvis, peanut butter, bacon, and sliced bananas on Texas toast, a Reuben, a heater burger, which is hot sauce, grilled jalapenos, and pepper jack cheese, and a vintage Sugar Bowl favorite spread of green olives, pecans, and cream cheese on a bagel or a pita. There is a kids menu. And yes, there's ice cream and milkshakes. Our hot fudge sundae, she had one bite, served in a stemmed glass bowl with pecans, whipped cream, and a cherry, was just $3.99. Wow! Because we ate outside, we only passed through the Sugar Bowl's interior, but it is large with tables and booths, and there's a side room with a glass display case filled with enticing handmade cookies. Well, friends, that's the end of the reading for the Canton Repository for September 30th. My name is Pam, and please stay safe until we meet here again. You know what I always say, you be blessed and do what you can do to make today a really great day.